chief of a municipal police force in Metro Vancouver has issued an open letter criticizing British Columbia's drug decriminalization policies. Now, he says they're ineffective in the face of the ongoing overdose crisis. Delta Police Chief Constable Dubord said in the letter that while he agrees with the underlying principles of decriminalization, an early evaluation shows that the policy has not led to the desired outcome. BC decriminalized the possession of small amounts of certain drugs, such as heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine, starting in late January. This was part of a 3-year pilot program. Now, according to Chief Dubord's letter, there were 791 overdose deaths in the province between then and May. He says this closely mirrors the 772 deaths recorded during the same period last year. Well, joining us now to discuss his open letter and what drug decriminalization has looked like in BC so far is Delta Police Chief Constable Dubord himself. Chief Dubord, thank you again for your time today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate being here.
So, sir, your letter has drawn quite a lot of attention. Can you briefly tell us what drove you to write this letter in the first place?
Absolutely. I think it comes from really 3 points. The first thing is that we recognize here in Delta and are committed to the community safety and well-being that our role in policing is changing from that of one of law enforcement to one where we contribute to the health and well-being of our community in many different ways rather than just the enforcement of laws. And our officers are experiencing that on the street when we're dealing with people with addictions and those types of associated issues, that there really wasn't the resources for us to be able to get the immediate kind of help that they required at the time. So this in combination with the second item, which on July the 7th, the Washington Post put out an article in relation to the Portugal model, which the BC model is framed very closely to the Portugal model, although there are many differences. And the Washington Post brought out that, in fact, there are some shortcomings in the model now in Portugal in 2022 compared to when it was first implemented in 2001. And the third piece is I really don't think it was a criticism of what's going on here in BC and decriminalization, but I believe it was a stepping off point for what I would call phase 2, which is about really treatment and recovery and the importance of treatment and recovery being one of the foundational pillars of a decriminalization program.
All right, sir. Now, in terms of this Portugal model, in your letter, you say we can learn from the shortcomings of what's happening in Portugal. So what should BC take away from this situation?
You know, Dr. Lonat Reeb here at the University of British Columbia, who is with the Division of Family Practice, does an amazing analysis in relation to the Portugal model. And in 2001, when it started, it began very differently, and the foundation was in place for all the system to be able to support the people with addictions. So let me give you an example of that is once they went through rehabilitation or some sort of treatment program, at that point in time, they would be offered a job, they would be offered housing, they would be offered support mechanisms to be able to give them the type of leg up to be able to be successful in communities and contribute in a meaningful way. In addition, what the Portugal model did is that they had the access to immediate treatment and recovery, which at this point in time, we're still moving towards what I would call a second phase in the British Columbia model here, where we need treatment and recovery to be a major focus as we move forward. Just to sort of be able to correct some of the statistics that were provided here in just recently, I think as early as yesterday, the BC coroners came out and month over month from June of 2022 to June of 2023, there was a 17% increase in fatal overdoses in British Columbia. So that number continues to rise.
Some very concerning numbers over there, sir. Now, just about a minute left here, but in your letter, you say we need a flexible whole system funding model that focuses on a continuum of care. So what does this sort of model look like, and do we have any examples to refer to?
Absolutely. I think the Portugal model from 2001 is a model we can refer to, and it's been studied heavily by many organizations around the globe. But I suggest that we work in silos now. The opportunity for us to be able to work together in social industries, in healthcare industries, and in justice industries need to be able to work together to be able to provide a whole system approach, which really sets the foundation of people in for success who are facing addiction issues.
All right, sir, a quick 30 seconds left here, but just to clarify your stance on decriminalization, you're saying we need to add to or improve the decriminalization strategy rather than axe decriminalization altogether in British Columbia.
Yeah, you nailed it. Absolutely. I believe in the philosophy and the principles of decriminalization, of safe supply and reducing deaths. But certainly, I think we need to continue it and use this as a stepping off point for phase 2 and potentially a phase 3 as we continue to develop it.
All right, lots to keep our eyes out for. Chief Dubord, thank you again for your time today.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, stay with us. When we come back, we'll be turning our attention to the Online News Act and the effect it's having on some independent and online journalists. We're going to be speaking to Wyatt Sharp, host of The Wyatt Sharp Show, to discuss what changes need to be made to the act in order to avoid all Canadian news links being blocked. After that, we'll, of course, have more news from around the world, so don't go anywhere. Forum Daily News will be back shortly.